I'm just going to dive in because we're already 7 minutes past or 8 minutes past. If you don't mind.
Okay.
Good.
Sure, go ahead.
Why would I
All right.
mind?
All right.
Thank you for asking.
The transition continued. Hello and welcome to our 61st Help Save Our World Speak online speakers meeting, where we are changing the conversation to change our world. I'm Dennis, the teacher of this quest for the truth, change, and transformation. We and our world are dying. All life on planet Earth is racing towards extreme suffering and inevitable extinction because of our civilized way of life. We are creating instability in all of our life-sustaining systems. We, the people, have been misguided and lied to by the people in power. This misguidance has caused us to harm ourselves and destroy our once magical life-sustaining planet. Now, your only hope is for you to go on a quest for the truth, change, and transform your life. By traveling this thought journey, you'll awaken yourself to the truth, become aware, conscious, and enlightened. Thus, you'll make wise choices to change your way of life. Then just by living that new way of life, you'll naturally change the world that you manifest around you. Then by showing, guiding, and teaching others this new way of life, it will spread worldwide, transforming humanity. Through this process, we'll be creating the movement of fundamental change to help save our world, so we can all transition to a new age. Some have referred to it as the golden age of reason, beyond this age of ignorance. This process is designed and developed to create this essential paradigm shift, which is your and the people of the world's only hope of creating a happy, healthy, and sustainable, abundant future for all of life on earth to thrive. And it all begins with you. And of course me, and of course the rest of humanity, taking responsibility for our lives, then choosing to go on your own quest for the truth. Through this transformational process, you'll make the necessary changes as you begin awakening. You are questioning and thinking and sensing and feeling and reevaluating and choosing and changing. Transitioning, you'll become more aware, more consciously connected, and enlightened as you uncover the secret truths and natural wisdom of nature, life, and the universe. By growing, changing, and transforming your life, you are transitioning. Then by sowing and growing, you are manifesting a happy, healthy, sustainable future around you. This thought journey is also your self-discovery journey and self-transformational journey. So you can begin to be the best version of yourself as you transition to the future. You're also transitioning from the old unsustainable way of thinking and living in the world to a new sustainable way of living your life. It's a process of revealing the secret truth about our world and how to make a meaningful difference in our world. Unlike any other philosophies, truth, love, hope, positiveness, and natural wisdom of life and nature and the universe are the paradigm shifts, predispositions, or foundations on which we will build our future. This transitional movement is a very powerful journey of self and world healing. The journey will ultimately empower you with the knowledge, the skills, and the wisdom which you need to think and choose wisely, so you can change your way of life and naturally change the world that you manifest around you. Then leading from the front, you will guide and teach and lead others to that happy, healthy, sustainable vision of our way of life in the future, which will ultimately spread around the world so that we can all help save our world and all life on Mother Earth together. All right. That's the introduction. And you introduce yourselves. Kurt?
Sure. Well, first thing I'd like to say is, can I get all of that in a pill? And I say that jokingly because it's a lot, obviously, to swallow. And I think it's a good segue into what today's topic is, which is about personal responsibility. What are we doing? And as we had discussed before, it takes some effort in order to make things happen. So on that, my name is Kurt. I live in South Florida in the Hollywood area, and I attend these meetings because they're stimulating. They give me good ideas, and they remind me that it takes a village to change the world, and I'm playing in this village from time to time.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kurt. That's awesome. Alex?
Yeah, that was awesome, Kurt. I can't compete with that. I mean, I may as well just stop talking right now.
There's no competition. There's collaboration. No competition.
Definitely my focus this week has definitely been balance in all areas of my life. And I've had a serious hard look at a lot of different aspects of it. So I'm definitely focusing on balance this week, and balance in general is definitely a focus point at the moment for me. My name's Alex, and I'm here in South Africa.
Excellent. Well done, Alex. Brendan?
Good day, I'm Brendan. I'm from South Africa. My focus, as always, in every meeting I say the same thing, but my focus is to help, I wouldn't say produce, but help grow a sustainable eco-village that everybody can live in, and help one another to prevent the, how do I put it, decay of the world.
That's wonderful. So the topic that I have put as the main focus of this meeting is, how do you choose to take responsibility for your thoughts, perceptions, choices, and actions? And it's amazing how we will be put in situations where we are tested and have to look at ourselves, and we often don't realize the effect we have on other people around us. And we might say something that's might be true, but it shouldn't be said, or it's too extreme, or the way we say it might not be the best way of expressing ourselves. So we had a few experiences of that this week within the family. So that was a fascinating journey for me. It was like, oh my gosh, is that how everyone sees me? Oh, so I really need to step up. And so it's a wonderful journey that life will continuously call you into alignment. So yeah, I just brought that up because it was just something very relevant to the rest of us. Alex?
Yeah, you look fantastic in that blue. Is that a new shirt?
Oh, there you go. Alex decided that because I had said something I shouldn't have said or displeased her, that she was going to punish me by taking me shopping. And
don't lie, you ended up punishing her.
Oh, you want to shop? Let's shop. No.
Good on you, Alex.
Yeah.
Is that the prison blue? Is that what we're seeing now?
That's what it is. Stripes on the back,
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to start off, just to take where you're going, you kind of led into, our even small little things can shift relationships or understanding and things like that. And we've been seeing a lot of that in the public eye, certainly in the U.S. here, and so many people have gotten. There's the cancel culture, which you say one bad thing and there goes your career and your job or whatever, and then there's a flip side of it where people can say and do absolutely anything and there's no repercussions. I subscribe somewhere in the middle for that balance that we're looking for. It's pay attention to what's coming out of your mouth and what's coming out of other people's mouths, and look for the effective resolution for it, what will carry us forward instead of keeping us mired in that blame game and hatred and whatever else. And obviously that's what you guys did. You went shopping, so
Yeah.
good solution.
Oh yes, it's a moment like step away and go and deal with your problems. It's like the Dalai Lama said that if you have relationship problems or issues with the people close to you, deal with them immediately and don't let them fester and so on. And then, of course, his second bit of advice was never refer back. Of course, it's a basic premise of Buddhism. Never refer back to something in the past, and just live in the moment and just let it go. It's one of the principles of Buddhism. Don't look forward into the future with horror or regret or whatever, and the past. So just be in the moment and fix the problems immediately. So
yeah. Well, if I can just add a little to that. Yeah, that's definitely being responsible for the here and now and what just occurred. In my first marriage, my wife's grandparents sat us down and just to welcome me before the wedding and stuff. And their only advice was never let the sun set on your disagreements.
Oh, wow.
And as a 20-something, 23, 24-year-old, I was like, but it's so true that we let things fester long beyond their necessary lifetime. And it just makes sense to just be honest, even radically honest, or brutally honest, not in a mean form, but just you need to push through the stuff between you and say, wait, this needs to get cleaned up. So I think it's a great way to move forward in life.
Yes, but sometimes you need that little bit of space just to calm all the emotions down, and so the words come more freely and less aggressively.
Oh yeah. Well, the breakthrough that I was talking about was get through the anger, get through the whatever, the stimulation, the chaos that some of that causes. So yeah, as soon as you can, but do it before sunset.
Yeah.
Unless it happens in the bed, and then you got to wait till morning, I guess. But come back from the couch.
Yeah, it's
just humor, but yeah, I think it's a great concept is to be frank and honest and straightforward and clean up. Don't just let it sit.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. All right. Now, just what happens is each week I write something that I really, really want to talk about, and then something else happens, and I write something, and then when I get to the week, I start, to go through what's there, and it all sort of ties in. So hopefully it does. So let's just go from here. So transformation and transition happens in the process of being the change you wish to see in the world. Your intuition, dreams, awakening, thinking, questioning, searching for the truth, expanding your knowledge, awakening, raising your awareness, consciousness to a state of enlightenment and gaining natural wisdom is a process rising within you to manifest a different you and a different world around you. My motivation for this section was I was reading through A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and he basically is going through the premise of Buddhism, really. It's like living in the now is the fundamental premise of Buddhism, really. It's like you can't change the past, you can't change the future, you can only change this now and live in the now because this is where it all happens. But then he ignores thought. Thought is like, it's not as relevant as just being. And unfortunately, like we live in this world and it's our thinking that is a precursor to our behavior, even if it came from intuition or inspirational thought or whatever. So, and then the concept of self as well is another one that he's like chucks out because we are all connected, which I agree with. So living in the moment, sensing, connecting internally and externally to it all, taking what you need and bringing into this world, choosing it and practicing living it, aware and conscious of your feelings, emotions, thoughts, choices, and actions, you are able to become a better you and create a better world. You're breathing, stretching, feeling, and continuously connecting with your inner being, to your muscles, to your sinews, to all of the way to the tips of your fingers and toes. Breathing in, you hold on to where you are, and breathing out, you allow change to happen and sink deeper into your stretch. You have a natural desire to hold on to what feels safe and keep things as they are. However, changing is a requirement for life and requires that you let go. Living, growing, and changing requires trusting nature will always provide more. So stretching yourself beyond your comfort zone requires that you breathe out and let go and flow into the change you wish to become in the world, or you wish to be in the world. Externally, you connect with the worldly. All those energy relationships that compose you and all life in your living world. You're vibrating, feeling, experiencing, living, moving, changing, and flowing in love, balance, and harmony with the symphony of life within the womb of Mother Nature. These properties and principles are the foundational giving and receiving and balancing relationships on which we all exist. Sensing, meditating, dreaming, and intuitively connecting, you connect with the universal whole, connected universe. You feel and connect with the universal energy and consciousness that compose everything in the universe. Fully consciously connected and enlightened, you cannot help realizing we are one with it all. And without the connected, moving, changing, vibrating, giving and receiving, gravity, cause and effect, balancing, flowing, ecological nature of the whole universe, we would not exist. We are one. Now that brings us back to that responsibility. If we are one, what is our responsibility to everyone and everything? Anyone want to talk?
It's to be available in the now. It's to be present. It's to be alive. It's to be welcoming and accepting and feeling, experiencing, flowing, balancing.
And loving.
And loving.
Mm.
Good.
Well, I think Alex covered pretty much the range of what responsibility is. I'll just add, responsibility is not a have to. And this is not my thinking, by the way. It's something I learned and have been using for about 25 years. But responsibility does not mean a burden or a duty or an obligation, which is how a lot of people have it, and which is why a lot of people are resentful to being responsible. Responsibility is a get to. It's an opportunity for us to contribute to the world in a way that we want to see it. as you said before, be the change that you want to be. And by being responsible, not by taking responsibility, it's not a thing. It's not out there. It's in us. By being responsible allows us then to create that internal availability to all possibility. Once we start to limit possibility, I'm not responsible for that, somebody else did it, then we've immediately put limits on what we are capable of. So I just want to add that responsibility is an opportunity for us to create the world in a meaningful way based on our heartfelt beliefs.
I love that too. Wow, great answers. I always come back to this. I don't know why, but I think of baby fish swimming around in the ocean, or microorganisms, or algae, or plankton, all in the ocean, all really helpless because they can't propel themselves. They can't swim away from something that doesn't taste or feel or whatever good. They just have to trust in the beautiful cleanliness and the oxygenation of the ocean and everything just being just right. The womb of Mother Nature being this perfectly regulated and controlled and beautiful, magical existence that makes their lives possible. And we come along as humans and we have this great potential to expand life and to turn our planet into this absolutely magical world. But certain people have chosen to take it upon themselves to do things that would harm that beautiful ecosystem, that Mother Nature, the womb of Mother Nature. And indirectly, they are responsible for the babies. They're responsible for the little seedlings. They're responsible for the little birds. We are responsible, supposed to be responsible beings for all life and everything that exists on our planet. And it's not a big issue. It's like you say, it's not like, oh, you must be a good boy because otherwise you're naughty and you must be responsible. No, it's just by living a healthy and loving and considerate and caring and fair and equitable way of life, it naturally happens. It doesn't have to be that our lives end up doing so much harm. Anyone?
Yeah, but I'd just like to add to that. Recently, people have been pronouncing responsible as response-able, and separating it into two words. And if you just take that little distinction, a twist, if I'm able to respond, and if I see myself as able and capable of responding, then things don't seem so hard. When we take responsibility, though, the way a lot of people have it, it seems so much bigger and so much harder and so less able to do. Because we've already put limitations on it, or we've made it something that we think is not in our realm of possibility. So that ability to respond is a very important aspect of what responsibility is. And I think you hit on it, Dennis, about we take action for what it is that we want to correct or change or nurture or whatever. So considering that as an ability rather than it's something out there, I need to take responsibility and that's such a heavy burden.
Yeah.
Rather than, hey, I'm capable of almost anything I can dream. So sure, I'll stand responsible. Why not? It makes me a powerful human being and a contribution.
Excellent. Wow. Alex?
Yeah, I think what Kurt said about before is I get to be responsible.
Wow.
Not I have to, not I want to. I get to be responsible. I get to be responsible for my child and doing his washing. I get to be responsible for the dishes that have to be washed for my family. I get to do these things for the people around me. I can. I'm using very simple examples, but I get to be present. I get to live, I get to experience, I get to be responsible. And that's an honor. Like I said, it makes me powerful, it makes me an amazing human being.
I agree. That's amazing. And then I get to grow my own food outside. It's I get to be outside in the sunlight. I get to be experiencing life. I get to be living as one with Mother Nature and with life. It's like, oh my gosh, I get to. It's magical. So let me carry on. Kurt, I was thinking about a conversation last week, and you brought up the Crusades. And I'm like, oh my gosh, manufacturing consent has been the biggest driver of belief in the dependence upon pyramid schemes, religions, and governments and power-based systems, basically. So even in the Crusades, what was the main reason for going into to become violent? Well, if you take away everyone's security and their villages and you destroy everything, you create dependence and fear, and therefore you've created this need to believe in your system. So fear has been the most potent destructive driving emotion to create imbalance. Now, imbalance in opposition to the natural nature of all life and humanity and our world. Everything in our world is really about balancing temperature, pressure, heat, whatever. It's just, there are all of these balancing acts happening. But for somebody to have more power than anyone else requires this driving fear and hatred and segregation and everything, driving everyone into this imbalance, to create this imbalance. So how we live now was based on coercion, force, violence, and fear. There are many examples of this throughout history: intimidation, violence, murder, wars, missionaries. That's a very common one that happened in Africa. They would send in missionaries to change the way people think, and then they would send in the colonists and the warring European empire or Dutch or whatever it was. They would go in and then force people into change. So it was this, first of all, seduction and then force, It was amazing. And that happens continuously and keeps on happening around the world. And then, of course, they use things like ethnic cleansing and all sorts of hate-based systems to create this imbalance, driving people off the land into dependence upon or on centralized power. Think about almost every situation where power has been centralized. Intimidation, lies, manipulation, and fear have been the tools of power. Imbalance can only be created and maintained with force. Our world's problems on which power has been established and grown are based upon hate, corruption, divide and rule, blind belief, fear and force. Therefore, these problems on which the power bases stand are systemic problems. In other words, it's the system that is the problem because it was built on all of these things. It's a systemic sickness. Our transition is from that fear-based, imbalanced paradigm and sick system to a happy, healthy, love, and life-based, natural, balancing paradigm. And that's our responsibility. Any comments, Kurt?
Well, yeah, I fully agree with the fear-based aspect of things, and it ties into our conversation of comfort, I think, last week as well, in that the people who want to exercise the power or want to harness and control the power use that fear, and in many cases with the comfort, it's if you don't follow along with this, you will be very uncomfortable. whether that be from external forces or from me. Your life is not going to be comfortable unless you do what I say. And certainly the Crusades, I'm sure a lot of that was based on, if you don't go, kill for God, you're not going to make it into heaven. So your afterlife is at stake here. So be fearful of not doing what we tell you what to do. And all of that, again, it has to do with, as we're today, it has to do with you being responsible for you and your existence and your listening and your choices, rather than submitting the power and then ceding your power to somebody else.
Excellent. Alex?
Yeah. In order not to give away your power, you need to live a simple life. I mean, the more things you accumulate, the less simple your life becomes, and the more you're giving your power away to these people. So growing your own garden gives you back some of your power, creating your own electricity gives you back some of your power, your independence from these power-based systems. So choose your comforts, honestly.
Yeah. Carry on, Kurt.
Yeah, I think Alex brings up a good point there. Again, the accumulation of things, and oftentimes just processes and habits and things like that, it relates back to comfort. At some point, we stop paying attention, and as Alex brought up a number of times today, being present to the choices that we're making and the life that we're living. So, we are material beings that need to consume in order to survive. Right? We need to consume air, water, food stuff. We don't necessarily need to consume, 15 mega yachts in order to prove that we're valuable human beings. And then there's some balance into our consumption and our replenishing what we consume as best we can. And if we use the things that we accumulate in order to create more benefits and in a positive way, rather than just holding and hoarding things just because, I think it's valuable to have a certain amount of things. I think, again, as we've spoken, we are way beyond having accumulated and created so much trash behind that accumulation, and that people like you and I on this call today are speaking about how do we look at the future, remember and acknowledge the past, and then act today towards the vision that we want. So, we're doing a little bit of cleanup as helping save our world from, the people that have been trashing it for eons or however long we've been around. And in order to change the paradigm into the balance, into the sustainability, into the I'm responsible for the world I create, not just mentally and emotionally, but also the physical world around me that we are all participating in at least our lifetime as I know it.
All right, that's awesome stuff. Thanks, guys. So this section, I don't want to harm anybody. So before I begin this section, I just want to clarify that no one else is responsible for my feelings, my emotions, my thoughts, my choices, and the things I say and do. I control my inner self, and I'm ultimately responsible for my thoughts and my intentions, even if I'm unaware that I am making those choices. I am responsible for me. However, others' choices and actions do affect me somehow, whether I like it or not. I'm also responsible for my interpretation of what others say and do. If I misinterpret, misread, and make poor judgments, that's on me. I do understand the concepts of not making assumptions, not taking them personally. However, we live in a connected world and connected relationships with others. So what others think, say, and do does affect us. So we all have a collective responsibility to everyone else around us to do our best to be our best selves. And most importantly, be careful and precise with the words, the language, and the syntax in our communications. Our words matter. Now, Kurt, did you recognize something that came through there?
Well, I definitely heard the four agreements manifest within that paragraph. And yeah, very simple ways to live. And basically what Don Miguel Ruiz was creating was a responsible way for one to live one's own life and how to look at the world around us and interact with it. So yeah, I think it's, again, it's that response able. I didn't cause something to happen to somebody or to me. You know, somebody ran a stoplight and hit my car. I didn't cause that. And I can stand responsible for it because then again, I have more ability to choose what my response is rather than blame. You know, and if I stood responsible, I could just simply go, what part of this situation could have been different if I had made a different choice? And it might have been, I should have looked twice before I crossed the street, you know? Instead of assuming, well, I'm the first that stops at the intersection, so I have the right of way. So that choice of moving forward, I stand responsible for. I was at cause for it. Again, not for blame or anything else. It's just to understand where we are in the process. And many of us don't want to go that. We want to put the blame on somebody else because if we take responsibility, we think it's a burden rather than, you know, no, it's a get to. It's for me to understand how the next time I get to an intersection, I can avoid an accident, or at least better avoid it, and how I can teach others. My experience, when you get to an intersection, look carefully, you know, rather than just assume, well, I got the right of way because I'm here first and I go.
Yeah, I actually had a very similar experience in Miami. I was in a hurry as an Uber driver to cross the intersection because I had another customer on the other side of the street, and I was on a roll, and the light changed, and I hit the gas, and I was going to get on the outside of the traffic, so I had the advantage, so I wasn't blocked in by all of the traffic, and I hit the gas, and bam, somebody hit me from the side. The guy was on his cell phone and looked up, and the light was red, and bam. So yeah, I understand that one fully. You know, it really is. Now, could I blame him? Well, ultimately, he was legally responsible, but really, I should have looked, and I should not have rushed it. My own fault.
So I've been rear-ended 3 times in South Florida. All 3 times I was at a dead stop. I was stopped at a traffic light. I was stopped in traffic on the highway. And as far as insurance is concerned, they were totally to blame. And as far as I'm concerned, yeah, they were. My car was not moving. I was in the place I was supposed to be. So did I cause that? Well, if I stand responsible for it, it's like, no, I didn't have that guy on his cell phone. I didn't make him on his cell phone. I didn't distract him. I was just here, and his actions brought him to me. However, when I look back, I could say, well, I could just be responsible for not having backed the don't text and drive, or don't be on your cell phone and drive efforts in the state more than I had. I fully agree with it. Yeah, people shouldn't text and drive. People should have hands free if they're going to be driving, you know, rather than this. So maybe back 6 or 8 months ago, when I had an opportunity to donate $10 or to speak to people, or even people that I ride with, say, hey, either put the phone down or drop me off on the side of the road. When I could have taken action towards, they weren't the ones that hit me. It just means, what could I have done in order to create a different world that allows this? And again, my responsibility also was, okay, this has happened, now what? And rather to get out and yell and all that other stuff, it's like, okay, somebody just rear-ended me, and this time for the third time. And my car's not the same, and all kinds of other things. But it's just, I stand responsible. Whether I caused it, did it, could have done it months, years ago, or even 2 seconds ago. Just standing responsible, being responsible, changes my whole experience of life in that moment, rather than the reactions, emotions, or whatever, which I'm also responsible for. And each one of them worked out fine, probably because the people thought, I'm guessing, that I was going to come out and be a raging madman about, you stupid idiot. And they rather than that, it was like, oh, he's calm. He just wants my insurance card. Cool, okay. So,
Yeah.
and then Alex brought this up. It's the presence, when we're present to what's going on and the choices we're making in this moment. That is our ultimate responsibility. And that's when we get to create right now what the next moment is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's always easy to get there. However, when we realize and hold that, yep, every single thought, action, response that we have and do is we're responsible for, then we have a whole different look on life and the circumstances around life.
Excellent. Alex?
Absolutely. And it takes two to tango. It takes two to have a conversation. But what we tend to forget is, what are the conversations we're having with ourselves? I mean, you may not have rear-ended someone else. You may have hit a lamppost or a sign on the road or a curb. What are the conversations we're having with ourselves? I mean, as well, we need to choose our thoughts, choose our words, and stop punishing ourselves for possibly bad choices that we're making on a daily basis. We need to also look back possibly on some of our bad choices that we've made previously and forgive ourselves for those bad choices. Bringing forth that punishment and indirect negativity through our lives is causing imbalance, or causing us not to come into balance. So we need to stop and look at the conversations that we're also having with ourselves, not just those that we're having with others.
I agree fully.
If I can just add on that, yeah, that's those of you that might know, there's a fifth agreement adding to the four agreements that we've known for years, and the fifth agreement is exactly that. It's I'll paraphrase it, but it's question everything but learn to listen. And the questioning everything is, the conversations that come into you and people say and all that. And the but learn to listen includes listen to yourself and your internal conversations. And that's a lot about what this whole Help Save Our World series is about, is it not? It's changing the conversations, not just externally, but internally. And so as we listen, as we are responsible for the thoughts and then the choices we make on those thoughts, we get to listen to, where did that thought come from? Why did I just make that choice? So I think it's absolutely critical that in order for us to be responsible, we get to listen to ourselves, especially in the moment. What conversation just did I have going into that, and what conversation am I having coming out of that? And how am I shaped by that, either by myself or by external conversations that I've adopted over the years. So I think this is obviously critical to what Helping Save Our World is about. We are our world. We are one with it. And as we change ourselves, we change the world along with it. So critical topic right here, I think.
Yeah, I love both, like what you both said, that conversation thing, Alex. It's like I'll find myself sitting here in a dreamlike state, and all of a sudden I'll feel absolutely humiliated by something that happened, which I shouldn't feel bad about, but somebody had some negative comment to make years ago, and it like, oh my gosh, I have to like shake my head and run around in circles to try and get rid of it, It's like, no, so that's something that really does affect me, and I have to really work hard on breathing through it and getting those thoughts out of my head. Now, Kurt, one of the things that I used to do in Florida and wherever I'm driving is, it was like a big thing in South Africa to maintain a decent trailing distance behind a car. And if somebody came and cut in and pulled in, you just carry on, go a bit further back. Yes, you get to work a few minutes or seconds later, but basically what you've done now is, if something starts to happen and it's like way, like you see somebody jamming on brakes, like way, like a long way ahead of you, then you start to slow down, but you keep your trailing distance, and you maybe even extend it. Now, somebody who's coming up behind you will anticipate that they need to slow down when you slow down, but they might be looking at their phone. So their timing is based on you, all right? So when you hear them trying to screech and brake and everything, all right, you pull forward and you give them the room, or you've got enough space to pull around to the side of the other vehicle, giving them space. So that's a way of actually being the responsible adult on a freeway full of crazy people who are right up one another's backside on their cell phones. People don't realize that it takes a few seconds for you to realize, from the thought on your phone to the thought, I'm in trouble, I need to put on my brakes. And all of those things take time. So if somebody stops suddenly, or you suddenly look up and they stopped in front of you, you're done and done. It's like you've got to be able to either quickly look to your left or look to your right and look down your rearview mirror and know that there's nobody behind you, and then pull into the safety lane. But not everyone is that quick and maybe that prepared or that skilled to be able to do that. So by you just staying back a little bit of distance, you can be the person who provides them the space and stops them killing themselves. So anyway, it's just an idea.
Sure. Yeah.
Hello, Lorna.
Actually,
sorry.
You started this. Okay. You started it off with a little anecdote about you having a thought about a previous mistake or something like that, right?
Yes.
And I think we've all done that, and we've all been in a place of self-judgment, even along with other people judging. And one of the 4 agreements is always do your best. And part of that is, like your example of having the safe distance, and if you look in your rear mirror and you see that somebody else is coming out at super fast, you can take evasive action. Sometimes we don't have that. Even if we look around, we see what our options are, and they're just not there. We've boxed ourselves in, so to speak. However, we did our best in that moment, given the resources that we had. And then that's the way I would say for you to kind of release some of those negative conversations. So like, look, it wasn't perfect. However, I did my best in the moment. And if it wasn't my best, and I learned that I didn't do my best in that moment, then moving forward, I will make an effort to always do my best. I'm giving you a little coaching here, but it's a way for us to not beat ourselves up over something, because as we all know, given enough time and thought, we can see how that mistake or that error has led us to be different people. Oftentimes for the better, if we just allow it its time to evolve, rather than to nail it in the history of time that I made a mistake and I screwed up and forever that will be on my record. It's like, why would we do that to ourselves? Well, we know why, because we've been trained, and the society is about blame and domination and fear and all that kind of stuff. However, that just doing our best in the moment with the resources that we have at hand, I think will make a big difference for everybody's life as we move forward, especially with the topic that we're on, which is sustainability and changing the world.
Yeah. So we basically reached the end of our our time. We started 7 minutes late, so we've got 6 minutes, but it's not enough time for me to go on to the section that I was preparing to talk about, but it's good enough. Lorna,
Of course it is.
Yeah, perfect. Lorna,
Good morning.
good morning.
I just want two comments,
Okay.
definitely Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 agreements, right? Talking about
Yeah.
first, make a big difference in my life. I agree with him. And what Kurt said at the end, let's do the best with what we can now, right?
Mhm.
It makes me talk about the second comment, which is I'm very much into Eckhart Tolle,
Totally,
Eckhart Tolle, the author of what is
Power
it?
of Now.
Power of Now, right?
A New Earth.
And it's just trying to put things together. What you said, Dennis, about the distance in the cars, right? Like a courtesy, and then this is not coincidence, I think. And then Kurt says, okay, Don Miguel Ruiz, and then let's do the best what we have now. So the latest I got from Eckhart was do the same thing with our thoughts. Let's allow time between one thought and another, right? I'm practicing this now, right? And I just wait, for the next thought to come, not the next action. So it works really special. So just allow the thoughts to come, or skip a thought, even better, right? When possible. But yes, it's just the same. We're recycling, right? Because Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 agreements was written, I don't know how long ago. Now, our subject matter today, at least this part that I just listened right now, it's about the same thing. And then Dennis with his comment about the distance in the car. So it's just a great synchronicity. And it looks like it gets repeated, right? Cyclically?
Cyclically,
It's
yes, or cycle. Yeah.
Cyclically until we get it, right?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I mean, these fundamental concepts we'll just continue to return to them. It's like, because they are the basic wisdoms on which we need to live our lives. Like good?
Sorry, that's good. Really wants to just have it say. It's beautiful.
Go ahead, Lorna.
I just saw I halfway through, but I recommend it. In same subject, a presentation with Eckhart Tolle and in Google, with the big guys with Google. I found it in his website, eckharttolle.com, eckharttolenow.com. And the first question the Google guy asked him was, what's the difference between information and wisdom? So before he went into, give his comments, it was so beautifully that he set up the tone, in a very kind way and to that beautiful pace before he will answer that call and that question. So when he went back to answer the question, it looks or it sounds like that information was so little, content versus wisdom. And I have to finish, the presentation, but it was great to know that he is in those environments. I didn't know they have meditation rooms in Google. I didn't know. They have now for the youngsters, young comers, tech guys, they have meditation rooms and all that. So I don't know what he's doing there. I said, really? That's the first time he goes to corporation. He said he doesn't do that. So I thought it was something will come out of that, even though that's not what he usually do or does.
Yeah, we've got to be willing to sort of go into places that are really difficult for us. And really the speech, the part that I was going to read today is really about that. It's going into a situation and either you can handle it or you can't, and then choosing and deciding whether you can survive in that sort of situation. So that'll have to be next week. Kurt?
No, I'm fine.
Good. All right,
Yep.
everyone, that's it. Basically, we've hit the 7 minutes past. Alex, any comments?
No last comments.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. Anyone can stay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a
It
great
was
evening.
amazing. All right.